Welcome back to the channel. This is MadridistaFitz here to talk about Real Madrid's win over Sevilla today. This is home of Real Madrid's 11th best YouTube coverage. We sure as hell are the poorest channel, but we have the best PowerPoints, and Real Madrid had a game today. And I will say, there's my son back there. I will say, what do we say to Barcelona fans?
Cry little baby.
Cry little babies cry. But today wasn't about them. Real Madrid had a game. La Liga is officially wrapped up. They are officially the queens of Spain. That is Barcelona. They are the queens of Spain.
Little babies.
Cry little babies cry. I call them the queens of Spain because they're unable to deliver a Champions League victory on top of their La Liga crown. That is what true Spanish champions do. But Real Madrid, my team, our team, the Madridistas team, did have a game today against Sevilla. This is not the Sevilla teams of old. This team is struggling to stay above relegation, and Real Madrid was facing off on the road against them. Not an easy atmosphere to go down there and play in. But, of course, for how interesting Real Madrid is off the field, for how chaotic and sometimes you could say even exciting it is for them off the field, their on-the-field games are the stuff that will put you to sleep. I say this every week. This is not anything new with these videos. Week in and week out, they drop a snoozer after snoozer. They play some of the most lifeless, dull, boring football that you'll ever see. I think the main headline today, the main grasping headlines, which probably aren't even out today, but I would say the biggest thing was just the stinker that Mbappe had out there today. He was in particularly bad, especially for a guy that was saying he was the fourth choice fullback, that he should have played against Barcelona, that he scores goals against Barcelona, that he makes the difference. He said, I don't know his exact quote, but he said we pretty much lost the Copa del Rey because he wasn't playing in it, and we got knocked out because he wasn't playing in it. Well, he had a chance to back up his words today, and my God, he was terrible. I'll get into that, but nothing new here. It was a 1-0 win for Real Madrid. We play terrible football in La Liga. We just don't play with any passion or any fire, or maybe our guys don't give a hell. Who knows at this point with this team? Thank God there's only one more game after this one that I have to suffer through, and we can move on and hopefully ship out some of the riffraff in this team and maybe bring in some players that will be willing to run and be willing to fight for the badge, be willing to play hard and even in meaningless games like this one. But yep, Real Madrid won today, 1-0. I'll go over the lineup. I'm going to make this video pretty brief because there's nothing really newsworthy here to talk about. The lineup, we of course played our typical garbage 4-4-2. No true striker up top, which I've been asking for forever with this team. We play we play football the hard way. Each week in and week out, we choose not to play with a true striker. We try to play Mbappe and Vinny together in what can only be described as a tactical madness. I never know what's going on out on the pitch. I look at their positioning throughout the game, just where they're at, and if you look at those two, you never know what's going on. You can see here Vinny was up starting on the left apparently, and Mbappe was on the right. I saw Vinny throughout the game on the right-hand side. I saw Mbappe on the left-hand side. I saw Mbappe all the way back in the midfield at one point doing whatever the hell he was. Maybe he wanted to go back and have a chat with his fellow French international, Tchouameni. Maybe they were doing a little tea time or having some crumpets. Who the hell knows? But, of course, there was no structure in our attack. We just decided to play those two up top, which we do when they're fit week in and week out. News to you, Mbappe, you are not the fourth choice striker. That is a load of shit. I can't even believe that this man would have the audacity or gall to say that our coach, Arbeloa, I'll get into him in a second, Arbeloa, but I feel bad for that poor bastard. But I can't believe Mbappe had the gall or audacity to say he's the fourth-choice striker. Well, you're fit again, my dude, and you were starting in this game, and you had a chance to prove something and do something of value out there. But, all right, getting back into the lineups, who we had out there today was, we had, Cry Little Babies Cry. We had those two up top. In our midfield, we had Jude Bellingham, we had Tchouameni, Pachar, and the Moroccan prince himself, Brahim Diaz. We had Fran Garcia at our left fullback. We had Dean Huijsen, Rudiger at the center backs. Carvajal, his old ass, got a start at right back. And Courtois was our keeper, universally our best player ever, game in and game out. Courtois, he saves our ass from actually embarrassment and losing games like this. But I'll just touch on what I saw in the first half, which was very much so a snoozer of a first half. We did not create more opportunities in the first half. Let's not get this twisted. Sevilla was the better side throughout this game. If you were to watch, Sevilla had more opportunities. In particular, at the very beginning of the game, Tuchemeni and Bichard were losing the ball in the midfield left and right, and it was creating shots on goal for Sevilla. And I would even argue their striker, he was Akor Adams or Ake Adams. I think they were just referring him to Adams on the broadcast. That dude on Sevilla, he is complete ass. If he had his finishing boots today, he had a few gilt-edged chances. If he would have made a few better runs into the box, he could have scored. But I think overall, our defense, it's hard to complain about a 1-0 win and keeping a clean sheet, but I would say it's more because Sevilla is not any good. They are ass, and our defense being good. In particular, I want to highlight the fullback play, which was particularly garbage. I think right now, currently existing in this club, is some of the weakest fullback play that you'll ever see defensively. Fran Garcia, just every time he plays, it makes me wonder what Carreras has done to justify getting sit on the bench. Now, I'm not a big Carreras guy. He was great the first 12 games, but he has been ass ever since that. But we paid 50 million euros for Carreras just for his ass to sit on the bench. Here's a news flash for anyone that follows this team and how economics work in football. Carreras is not going anywhere in the near future. We invested a lot of money on him as a player. We need to either get him minutes or send him out on a loan to get better or do something, because him sitting on the bench and playing a guy in Fran Garcia who it brings really nothing, in my opinion, in defense or offense going forward. In particular, in offense, he's lost in the sauce when he gets the ball up there. Vinny doesn't really like to pass to him either. Vinny did a little more passing to the wing backs today, but overall, I don't know what Fran Garcia brings. I don't know what Mr. Zach Efron Carreras did to shit in Arbeloa's Cheerios to get him universally on the bench. But yeah, it's just some very poor fullback play. And then Carvajal's just old. He was getting burnt on his side. One thing I noticed that Real Madrid really struggles with fullbacks is just closing down a cross going into the box. Many times wing backs, and this is not an easy thing to do. This is maybe one of the hardest things to do in football, but very good fullbacks, or whatever you want to call them, wing backs, left backs, right backs, they shut down the winger on the other team, and they don't allow them easy crosses into the box. This is stuff that happens time and time again. Our fullbacks do not close back space quick enough on wingers, and they get a very easy passes across the middle, and it usually leads to goals on the other side. We were very fortunate today that Sevilla just is terrible, and they're close to relegation. They might even get relegated for the first time since 1999, but they didn't make us suffer, or they didn't punish us for all the crosses that they got in. But this is something I've just noticed throughout the season, that our fullback play is very poor defensively. But yet there's not much to describe the first half going on. We did end up scoring a goal, which is funny. It was about as close to setup play you'll ever see Mbappe do. He was actually, I will say, Mbappe was in the right position up front, but he tried chesting the ball down, but it was almost like a dump pass. Subconsciously, or maybe by complete accident, Mbappe almost served as a post. You see great traditional center forwards do this all the time, where they receive the ball in the middle, they dump it off to a winger or a midfield player to shoot on goal. Mbappe sort of did this on accident, you could say, and it led to a goal. Maybe they should show him that replay and be like, it's this easy, my dude. If you're going to be our forward on this team, if you camp in the box and just lay the ball off to a winger or lay the ball off to a midfielder, they will get shooting opportunities. But that led to our goal, the only goal that we had in the game, and really one of the only opportunities we had to score, I think, in the game. Honestly, there was two more good chances, which I'll go over, two more in the second half, one by Booty himself and another by Slim Shady. But Vinny, hats off to him. He had a decent game. He had a sublime finish, a curling ball on the ground, which he put in the back of the net. But besides that, not a lot to report. Bellingham, Tchouaméni. Of course, Bellingham, as soon as Mbappe comes in, he gets relegated back to being a box-to-box player. He has to cover the hard yards because, Vinny and Mbappe aren't going to do any real pressing of the ball. And Jude Bellingham, he was a little quiet, of course, offensively because his role changed, but he stole the ball a couple times and tried doing a few good outlet passes. Even Tchouaméni, who rarely does this, was trying to do some line-breaking passes. Now, that's not his game, but at least he was trying to do it. Pichard, I didn't really see a whole lot out of him. Maybe if you don't see a whole lot out of a midfielder, it doesn't mean they had a bad game. It's just they didn't really bring a whole lot of impact, in my opinion, defensively or going forward. And then you have the Moroccan prince himself, Brahim Diaz, who he gives fourth outstanding effort. If nothing else, I will say that about Brahim Diaz. The guy is an effort king. There's no denying that he tries very hard. He is just having a hell of a rough season. That guy is on a 38, I think, goalless streak in La Liga. Something like that dating back to last season. He just cannot score. He's another player, that as soon as they throw on the international jersey, sort of like Kylian Mbappe, they just have a madness and they become Superman. But yeah, hats off to him for trying. There's no denying his effort, and he's certainly been one of the better players for us over the last few games. But the first half ended, and it was 1-0, and then the second half, kind of more of the same. Sevilla tried pressuring us. They gave it all they could. They even subbed in an old turd that I remember from his time at Barcelona and Arsenal. Alexis Sanchez came in and gave them some serviceable minutes. Buddy, can you keep it down for a sec? That's my son back there. But they tried the best. They looked like the more threatening side, and they certainly had their opportunities. There was really only a couple chances that we had in the game, what came from Mbappe. Mbappe should have scored. Man, I'll talk about Mbappe for a second. And I'm going to just go to the next slide on this one. For all the bitching, all the complaining that Mbappe has done over the last week, all the controversies surrounding him, from his time canoodling with the Spanish model to missing the El Clasico to saying he was 100% fit in our last match against Alvavade and bitching about he wasn't complaining, saying how he was the fourth choice striker, that the coach told him that, which was just absolute madness. Mbappe now had his opportunity starting in a game to deliver and show us Madrid fans how we need him so bad, how he's going to lead us to Champions League success or even league success or even a fucking trophy. And he just had a hook, line, and stinker. He really brought nothing to the game. He had an accidental, I don't even know if they counted that as an assist. He had an accidental layup trap to Vinny for that first goal. But he looked so disinterested in the first half, almost as disinterested as our coach looked. Him and Arbeloa could have competed for being the most disinterested people out there. If you looked at Arbeloa in the dugout today or on the bench, that guy just looked clinically depressed. He was so over being Real Madrid's manager. He knows he's going to be out next year, but he just was sulking on the bench and looked tired and just looked worn out. And I don't blame him dealing with crybabies, especially like Mbappe. Yeah, he's been the worst. And I wouldn't even say I've been overly critical of Mbappe. I have certainly said he's caused some team disruption and all that, but there's no denying that Kylian Mbappe is a talented player. He on his best day, he's dynamic and he can score some goals, but today was not it, my dude. He was so disinterested in the first half. He did nothing. Even in the second half, when he tried making his mark on the game, he was driving the ball downfield. We had a clear fast break off of a steal from, I don't remember if it was Bellingham or Tchouaméni, and he was driving the ball downfield. He had about, I would say, a good 10 yards of space between him and the last defender, going one-on-one with the keeper, and he just slowed down so damn much that the opposing defender caught up and stopped his shot. That would have been a great goal-scoring opportunity to get the second goal and pretty much secure the win for us, but the game went on, and he didn't really do anything else. He lost the ball. He had some terrible passes. I remember that. Particularly on a short corner to him, he tried passing the ball back over the middle, and it just got intercepted. He was terrible with that. Another goal that he actually put in the back of the net. Of course, he got caught offsides. You'll never see a player with more, or I won't say never. You'll rarely see a player with more pace out there than Kylian Mbappe, but you will never see a player get called offsides more than this man. He takes off like he needs every bit of yardage advantage on an opposing defender. I think he forgets that he's criminally fast. You don't need to take off so early all the time, Mbappe. I could argue he could take off about a yard short of the last defender and still beat most defenders in a foot race. He gets called offsides time and time again, and he just had a stinker of a day. He didn't contribute nothing, no goals, just not a good performance by him. Looked disinterested at times. You know, if this was a home game, he surely would have got booed and whistled. I hope he puts on, you know, the France cape or whatnot, and either he falls in love with the game again and comes back to Real Madrid with a better attitude, or maybe I'm about over him. Maybe we can try to figure out a way to offload him. I know there's been some rumors swirling about him maybe going to Liverpool, but that could be all cap, you know, in the media. But he had a stinker today, and in the second half, the only other real opportunity that we had to score was Slim Shady came on. And I believe it was a pass back after Vinny carried it to the left side touchline and passed it back across the middle to Massentuno. Good to see Massentuno at least getting a shot off, better than his normal lose the ball tendency or his lack of touch on his first touch, just giving the ball away. So good for him for actually getting a shot away. But of course, he didn't bury the opportunity. He hit the woodwork, and the game pretty much just continued on. You knew it was going to be tight. You knew that we weren't going to create many chances. And Sevilla, in my opinion, was the better side in the second half, and they really should have scored. Alexis Sanchez actually had a prime opportunity, almost a near sitter in the middle of the box that he just completely fluffs. But yeah, not much to it. 1-0 win for Real Madrid. Thank fucking God that we only have to endure this bullshit for one more game. I'm at a point where it's very hard to stay awake during Real Madrid games. I've been trying to switch back from a mid-shift to a day shift. I'm quite tired today. But Real Madrid did me no favors watching them today. I had to drink at least a cup of coffee and a Dr. Pepper to stay awake in this one. A typical snoozer from Real Madrid coupled with a Mbappe stinkers. That's about it for the video. All I have to say is one more game, and this is over. I need a break from Real Madrid. I will continue to cover the news from them. They are quite an interesting watch outside of the field. You never know what the hell is going to happen outside of the football pitch. But as far as their play on the football pitch, you will not see a boringer, more lifeless brand of soccer in the entire planet. I am ready for the World Cup. I'm ready to watch some actually good soccer for a change, instead of having to watch Real Madrid snooze their way, scumbag their way to a 1-0 victory or a 2-0 victory. Their typical stuff in La Liga. It's a madness. But anyways, thank you for watching the video. This is MadridistaFitz with your 11th best Real Madrid coverage. I truly appreciate my loyal subscribers, even you Barcelona bums, the queens of Spain themselves. Congratulations for winning again La Liga. You guys are true queens of Spain, doing absolutely nothing in Europe per usual. We were even able to scumbag our way to a quarterfinal, which is shocking, on the worst Real Madrid team I've seen after being a fan for... I've been a fan of this squad since around 2000, I would say 2008, 2009 is really when I first started watching Real Madrid. Even a little bit of that, even I would say when I was in high school in 2005, 2006, I watched a little bit of the Galactico era, but I really started watching this team when Cristiano Ronaldo took the helm around 2008, 2009 time frame. And in that time, I've not seen a worse Real Madrid team, or at least likable Real Madrid team. But we still were able to scumbag our way to a quarterfinals on the harder side of the bracket. Barcelona couldn't even muster a semifinals appearance, the golden generation of Barcelona. So once again, I want to give you guys your flowers for being domestic queens. You guys are the queens of Spain for sure. That's all I got to say. Love y'all. Hala Madrid, Puta Barca. I'm out. This is MadridistaFitz. See you later.